I don't think you can actually find those answers until you slow down and ask yourself, why am I not sleeping? In other words, the introspection that you can do, and then you can go to a doctor like you and start fine-tuning these things. And in other words, it's your life and your commitment to that life. So I
Right.
think that we're on to something here, don't you think so?
I do, and I too am not after promoting model thin. This is real life, and this is real life in the field of real needs. And in the real needs category, we are going to be going to a birthday party. We are going to be faced with birthday cake at some point. And who among us doesn't have to make the decision that I'm either going to have that cake or I'm not going to have that cake? And I want the rules around the food to be so committed, you to be committed to the rules, so that 90% of the time you are working at your 9 servings of vegetables and fruit in a day, and the clean sources of protein, and that sort of thing, so that if you do have a piece of birthday cake, it doesn't have to derail you, and you don't go into rebound, and then you're off of a diet. You don't have to be either on it or off of it. You can have the resilience in your life that says, I can have a birthday cake, and I can still be practicing self-care and always having a fresh start at practicing self-care. And that, it's just, this is real life. We're not going for model thin here. We're going for what's real in health goals and also being as close to our ideal as we want to be, but not for the model thin that doesn't really exist.
I think the model the psychological model of caring more about what you feel, especially deep within inside of you, over what other people think. It's a cycle. To me, that's one of the biggest problems some of these kids and teenagers and young 20 and 30-year-olds, because I'm a lot older and I've gone through the cycle and they're about to go through it, and there's no one telling them that deep inside of themselves to love themselves and not care so much about what other people think. I have been, as an adult, I've been at dinner parties and I've turned down sugar in a lot of different forms. And I've had people come up and try to put it in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed with you. I'll thank the hostess or whatever, but I'll pass because, after you've had a nice meal and then you throw sugar on top of it. I've had enough experiences with that where you can have a really nice, healthy meal and then throw sugar on it and see what happens. It doesn't work. So you have to be able to say, no, that wouldn't be appropriate for me right now, is a good answer.
Well, what do you mean it doesn't work? What works in that is that, you have a big meal and then you throw sugar on top of that. What works is that it'll provoke insulin. Insulin is the hormone that tells your body to store, and then it tells your body to store everything.
I go to sleep. That's what happens to me if I do it.
Yeah.
Within 20 minutes, I have all my life force has gone to digesting the food, and that's the red flag. I've gone through that 2 or 3 times, and it really wasn't worth the sugar that I put in on the end of that meal. I don't care what that fabulous dessert was. When you see your life force leave in 20 minutes and that all you want to do is go into a sleep, and then maybe an hour later you feel like you're getting your life force back again, that's a signal.
You're describing a single episode.
Yeah.
There are so many people who live back-to-back episodes of that.
Oh,
that
would be scary.
It's kind of sad because they're the ones who end up going to pharmaceutical drugs to fix what starts to ail them with what they're creating by the diet.
Okay. Well, what do you say the real work begins when the excess weight is lost? Why do you say that the real work begins once you've lost the weight?
9 out of 10 dieters gain the weight back. And I think that the guidelines that I have are, if you do them 90% of the time, that'll get you there to lose the weight. And once you reach your ideal, it's time to practice vigilance. So you don't go back to your old eating habits.
Which you can if you're not having that vigilance.
And so it's about practicing vigilance, but also holding yourself in the biggest field of compassion that you can, so that when things surface as to, wow, I'm not practicing self-care here because of
The triggers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
to be able to get yourself back to that state of being able to do your self-care. And I'm just really interested in bringing people beyond those blocks to what got them there in the first place, into that bigger vision of how they can live that's not so focused around food.
Okay. Now, I understand that you have 2 books, and one is about to be available on your website. Can you talk just a little bit about your books and maybe give us your website? And then we have some audience questions that we have a little bit of time to answer, okay?
Great. I do have 2 books. Actually, I have one right now, and the other is on the way. The Get a Life Diet is on its way. But the one that's here now, I have co-authored a breakfast cookbook. You know, I just thought of something I forgot to say earlier.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that can cause cravings for people is food allergies.
Yeah.
If you have food allergies, you can tend to crave the thing that you're allergic to, strangely enough. And as a naturopath, I do a lot of food allergy testing.
Yes.
And find out that many people, the top 3 food allergens are wheat,
Yeah.
dairy,
Mm-hmm.
and eggs.
Wow.
Those are the top 3 breakfast foods, pretty much. So I have co-authored a cookbook with Dr. Joan Haynes, who's also a naturopath in Boise, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And we have just revised into the 3rd edition, the What's for Breakfast cookbook. It's high protein breakfasts for food sensitive, time challenged people. And it's a great little cookbook, if I do say so myself.
I have it, and it's fabulous.
And it gives lots of options for working around those common food allergens for breakfast. And we've just revised it to add a section on raw foods and a lot more gluten-free alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
And that one can be found at the website for the book, which is breakfastcookbook.net. And it's available in PDF format right now that can be downloaded, but the hard copies are actually about a week away.
Well, you know, the audience can find this information on our website. It'll be posted at the end of the show, or they can call Create Your Own Reality or email us, and we'll give out that information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have some audience members that have some questions, and I don't have my glasses and the print's really small, so normally I would read this to you, but I'm going to hand it to you and have you read it.
Be happy to.
The name is on the left there, so we want to know the person who has asked.
So Dolly has asked, what's the role of nutrition in causing and treating cancer? Causing and treating cancer. That's a very good question. The role of nutrition in causing cancer. I am going to kind of fall back into the arms of the fathers of naturopathic medicine right now and tell you what role nutrition has in causing cancer. That actually can be explained by the condition of toxemia. And toxemia describes improper nutrition that insults and injures the body over and over and over again, that then causes a kind of a buildup in the large intestine. And a person might think that they're regular in terms of their bowel movements, and they're not. And what's happening is a buildup of these toxins in the blood, in the colon, and what's happening is there's sort of a progression that goes from having toxic blood to something that then turns into ulceration and or a compromised immune system, and then ultimately derangement of normal physiology and function, so that the immune system can no longer target and kill cancer cells, and then cancer is there. So